right. Well, that's Mike.
And that's Toya.
And this is Tech Beats and Bytes.
So we are joined here by none other. You guys probably heard us say this name way too often. You will see it in every hashtag, every @ that's included with Digital Grass, because they were the first foundation to see our vision and give us this opportunity. None other than the amazing Knight Foundation. So let's give a round of applause to the Knight Foundation. That's what I'm talking about.
Huge supporters of Miami and the
Please
entrepreneurship
scream
scene.
and make some noise, because we need them. We need them. But I don't know if I can put this on record, but I'm very comfortable to say you would probably have to be one of the youngest program directors of the Knight Foundation. So let's give a round for Chris Caines, one of the youngest program directors of the Knight Foundation. It is an honor to have Chris here. I don't know if y'all know what it feels like to be the program director of the Miami chapters of the Knight Foundation. There is 26 other hubs. I guess that would be 25, including Miami. That would be 26. But young man, I know it's a lot of pressure on you. Before we even, how old are you, Chris? Are you like 21 and a half?
Age ain't nothing but a number.
Better tell them.
What? I think the first requirement of working at Knight is to have a personality and listen to R&B. So are you like Matt? You listen to a lot of R&B and soul music too?
Actually, not too much.
Really? What do you listen to?
Yeah, top 40. BODAK Yellow. It's kind of my theme song right now, actually. Like
That's supposed to be for the rapid 6, Chris. Jeez.
He just went all the way there.
Right.
All
We
my
didn't even
questions.
ask the question.
All my questions are just all right, Chris. I want to go ahead and get right into the controversy. Matt Hagman, a.k.a. Moneybags Matt, a.k.a. Make It Rain Master. No, but for real, Matt is known for, I think, an illusional, or should I say a delusional perception that the Knight Foundation just has millions of dollars to get away, and not understanding that the Knight Foundation is making strategic investments into 26 different cities to build them. What are some of the hardest things you're dealing with right now, filling in the shoes for Matt? Because a lot of things changed between Trabian, who was a previous program director, and then Matt when he came on. What are some of the hardest things you're currently dealing with being the program director at the Knight Foundation?
Sure. So you hit on a couple things. Trabian was actually Matt's boss. Trabian was
Correct.
actually vice president before folks came in after him. But yeah, the Knight Foundation has a lot of different pieces, and I think sometimes in Miami we only see one piece, but we are a national foundation. We do work across 26 cities, and then we actually have several national programs that actually transcend those 26 communities as well. Technology innovation, journalism, we're kind of active across the board in those. Our arts program is in 8 of our communities. And then we have what I consider to be the signature piece, which is that community component where each city has a different strategy. So in Philadelphia, for example, a lot about civic connectivity and how do we connect public spaces and public parks to each, different communities. In Miami, for the last 6 years, strategy has been around entrepreneurship. So not investing in individual startups or entrepreneurs, but kind of the infrastructure and resources around entrepreneurship more broadly in Miami. So that's like, investing in everything from incubators to accelerators, co-working spaces, conferences, all the things that kind of bind our community together of entrepreneurial innovators.
And it seems like you guys are kind of leaving components that even if Knight Foundation went away, you've built the foundation and the infrastructure of an ecosystem that could sustain itself.
That's the aspiration, and I think that's just really the ambition of having a strategy around entrepreneurship. Just because a lot of the things that we're supporting have earned income models, right? They have ways to sustain themselves beyond just grant funding and sponsorships. And yeah, quite frankly, Knight is catalytic funding. It's not forever funding. It's not sustainable funding. It's really that risk capital to help folks get off the ground and get started in a meaningful way. But the aspiration is that that'll attract other capital, whether it's public money or other private money. But not going to be there forever.
So is that one of the biggest misconceptions about the Knight Foundation, is that it is catalytic funding and not forever money?
Yeah, I would say one of them. In addition to us having a ton of staff on the ground, it's the funniest thing. People they look at me like I'm crazy when I say that there's one employee for our Miami program.
Wow,
and it's me. So it's sorry, 2 days for the email, but I'm getting there.
Wow.
And so that's something that's one of the biggest misconceptions, I would say. I feel like people kind of get it when you explain to them, like, okay, catalytic funding, risk capital, philanthropy, but there's an aspiration for larger follow-on funding from other folks.
And so, I guess, what do you see? I mean, I know at one point co-working spaces were very much so needed. And then the next thing you know, WeWork comes, and now you have all these co-working spaces. But what are you seeing is still maybe one of the weaknesses that I wouldn't say that somebody should build a program around, because I would hate for you to give this information out and then 30 people call you tomorrow and be like,
it's going to happen either way. It's going to happen either way.
Let me run this by you.
It's going to happen either way.
Pookie, I got something. Come around the corner. What is something that you do feel is kind of missing from what we should be building here that people may not be paying attention to?
Sure. So, I mean, I think that every answer to this question should start with something to the effect of diversity and inclusion, to be quite honest. I really think that there's a really meaningful gap in a really bad way in our community. It's not unique to centers of innovation, but as we are a young and emerging center, it's really on us to build in the controls and do things the right way so that we don't end up like a Silicon Valley with some of their alarming lack of diversity, some of their dystopian problems around affordable housing. We really have a chance to build from the ground up in a way that's responsible and sustainable for all of Miami. So, for example, CAC, Community Advisory Committee board member Baron Channer cites this stat really often. 2% of contracts for the Miami-Dade County School Board go to Black Miamians, despite them owning over 15% of firms. And so it's more than just diversity. It's more than just inclusion, to take a line from Shonda Rhimes. It's normalizing, really.
Yeah.
Because if you have 15% of your population representing a certain industry and only 2% of contracts are going to them, not only are you leaving talent on the field, you are abnormal in the way that you are distributing your work.
Fun. Yeah. On that same note, and because Knight Foundation being catalytic funding, what are you sort of doing to alleviate that same situation? Are you focused on funding businesses that directly try to impact that and change that, or are you doing your own initiatives to address the issue? Yeah,
so it's a good question, and I think that first I like to say we're a non-operational foundation, so we actually don't really do much. It's the great people in the community, like Rebecca and everybody out there, who are on the ground doing the work, really. So we're just providing the funding for it. So we would never, say, start an initiative and then staff it up ourselves. I think that some of our investments come from around the country, and we'll help subsidize some of the costs to bring them in. And then some are homegrown, where we're just kind of betting on folks locally who have a really great idea for our community. Help me with the original question.
No, but just to sort of to continue the conversation, though, I think what you just said kind of also addresses a misconception, because people look to the Knight Foundation for solutions.
Yes.
Yes.
And you're more so enabling people with solutions to implement those solutions.
Can I I'm going to unpack that for you.
That's my buzz line.
Yes. I had to take another drink before I asked this question. Me and Self-Born have had this conversation. So the whole point of having this show is to have an open platform to say things that make some people uncomfortable. This is where I'm starting to get upset. I see a lot of people in the community, more so larger corporations, still complaining about what maybe isn't being done or what the Knight Foundation isn't doing.
Really?
My thing is, where the hell are these corporations to start matching or supporting the efforts that you guys have given? Because there's corporations here that are making just as much money, have endowments that could be just as large, but they're not doing a fraction of what you guys are doing. Where's the corporational support to build this community up? And I'm talking about from West Palm Beach down. Because even though the focus is here in Miami, the work you guys have done has pretty much transformed the scene for South Florida in general. Where's the match funding? Where's Fort Lauderdale at? Why are they not stepping up to the plate? Where's West Palm Beach at? Why are these other counties just sitting from the sideline and not really participating in these efforts?
So I think a really big and important part of building an entrepreneurial ecosystem and an innovation, making Miami a true center of innovation, is everybody at their station, wherever they are, doing the best they can. So I go to work every day and try to do the best that I can. I know so many grantees and so many folks out there, present company included, who are doing the same. And
plug.
If everybody that had the capacity to do their best did their best, I think we would have an innovation hub in no time. And I'm really hopeful that we find ways to speak to folks who haven't felt as included or haven't felt that they can contribute to the ecosystem, whether it's participating in some of the programs or it's funding some of those programs. And there is great wealth in Miami. In South Florida, there's glaring wealth and equity that we need to be focusing on every day. But there is wealth there. So how can we kind of tap into it? How do we speak the right language to incentivize folks to engage and participate, show them that the innovation ecosystem in Miami really is a social good and it's an economic good, right? It's just the right thing to do to invest in your city's future and invest in diverse people for your city's future. But it's also an economic good. It's going to help unlock capital to our entrepreneurs and to our community and to our nonprofit folks. So, yeah, I don't know what the pitch is.
You know, one thing I really like is that, are you mixed, by the way? I don't really know your background. So you're mixed? Okay. In certain circles, no matter what, you're going to be a black male. You're a young black male, and you actually speak proudly. You remind me a lot of Travian. Just that sense of pride because it's the right thing to do. Have you suffered any backlash of that? Because you're very... Matt had that charming, underspoken tone. You have that charming, direct tone, which I really appreciate. You're very straightforward with your approach. Have you had any backlash for being so prideful yet? Have you run into that issue yet?
First, a story about Travian. I once got confused for Travian shorters.
Oh.
It's like one of those, like, you know.
Because all black men look the same?
Well, I wasn't going to say it, but.
You ain't got to say it. We're going to talk the truth.
Travian's like more than twice my age.
Yeah.
In case you But, you know, it's interesting, right? Like, there's always going to be barriers to certain folks in society. I think about some of the centers that I've been in, especially settings where you don't expect to have a meeting with somebody. You know, you hear you're having a meeting with a program director. You don't expect it to be a 23-year-old black kid, right? And so there's always some like that funny moment of like pause. Oh yeah, you're the person I've been emailing. Like, oh okay, that's cool.
Right.
And you know, it just comes with the territory. I think it's a great challenge and it's an opportunity too, to really kind of, you know.
And I really wanted to dive into that because we haven't done one of these in a while. But one of the fun facts of Digital Grass was every time we started reaching out to Matt, I noticed that Matt was kind of taking a back seat to the conversation. And it was like, oh, yeah, run it by Chris and tell me what Chris says. You're going to have to talk to Chris. And at the time, you were probably 21, 22. And so, you know, an all element of great arrogance of myself, I'm like, you want me to speak to him? Why do I have to talk to him? And then once you start having a conversation with Chris, you realize that 23 in age doesn't reflect your years of wisdom.
Thank you, Michael.
It can be a great oversight for somebody to come in and say, oh, because he's only 23. But the thing is, I never had that challenge as, oh, he's black, because to me, that's just an element of black excellence. So I expect you to be great, because at 23, I expected you had to work your ass off to even get into that position. But I just wanted to put that out there because you've probably over-excelled to what people would expect of you. So I really appreciate everything you're doing for our community.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you too, you know.
Absolutely. One of the things that we like to talk about a lot, too, is sort of the West of 95 situation, right? So
talk about the bubble. Let's talk about the bubble.
Right. There's a lot of focus on Wynwood, you know, the little Haiti area, even Overtown, you know, depending on where you lie. But in terms of the future of the city and looking at empowering other people of color, a lot of us live west of 95, south of 95. You know, there's that whole dynamic. So what is the Knight Foundation necessarily doing to maybe empower some of those organizations in those areas? Are you focused on those areas? Give us a little insight into what's West of 95 looking like for Knight Foundation.
It's a good question, and I hope you continue to push me and the rest of the foundation into thinking about it. I think most recently we supported the Opelika CDC.
Nice.
They have in the Thrive campus, which is a cultural arts center, as well as an innovation lab, urban farm, and urban market. And that's really trying to position several assets at being a hub in the middle of downtown Opelika. I think the answer is always going to be that we need to keep pushing.
Okay.
I think that sometimes it's really easy to kind of just sit back, and this is reflecting on me and myself, I statement here.
Stay in the bubble and take things for granted.
And also just to wait for things to come to you. But what if not everybody has the same access to reach you, right? So I've started doing my office hours at Venture Cafe and in different neighborhoods in the community.
Frequently, too.
Yeah. And I really mean it when I say anybody can sign up. You got 15 minutes, give me your best pitch, because that's how you're going to help source ideas. You can't just always sit back on the third floor.
Right. Yeah,
Wow.
no, that's good.
I want you to look at this real quick.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, hey, Danny, yeah. So I need y'all to pay attention real quick. So we rarely have this opportunity, but I wanted to address this. Chris, when we talk about challenges of diversity and inclusion, one of my mentors was, and still is my mentor. She was my first boss of my professional job as a graphic designer. Her name is Sharon Letman. She now is known as Sharon Letman Hicks. She's a Delta from FAMU.
Let them Deltas.
And hey, exactly. I had to give you that plug. And she was the CEO and executive director of National Black Justice Coalition, which is the justice coalitions for African Americans in the LGBT community based in D.C. And a lot of people talk about the struggles of diversity and inclusion, but a lot of people seem to miss the issues of diversity and inclusion in the gay community. It becomes a whole nother level and a whole nother challenge, which is something that has been addressed by Maven Leadership Collective. What have you seen being a gay black male with this much power? What are some of the things that you think is still not talked about or addressed in this community? Because although a lot of people forget, We Are Tech and the whole formalities of digital grass was minority, women, and LGBTQ. We know that's the issue, and I knew that because of my mentor. But it still doesn't get talked about because, frankly, most marketing positions, a lot of high-end positions are controlled by gay white males. But they don't talk about the discrimination that happens on multiple levels for the LGBT community and the minority element. How do we address that, and how do we help fix some of those issues?
That's a really good question. And I don't know if I have a one-sentence answer to it. I think part of it is just folks not realizing certain things. For example, in the state of Florida, so not Miami-Dade County, but in the state of Florida, you can still be legally fired for being LGBT. You can also be discriminated against in housing. And it's one of those things where it's like, you know, you're just more careful about certain things in a way that's really challenging, and it disproportionately affects low-income and queer people of color. I would also say things that like today sucked. There was a shooting, like the worst shooting in U.S. history, right? And you know, you look at the lines, and then like everybody kind of coming together and like standing in line to give blood for 8 hours. And like, even though this is a moment in which everybody's coming together, it still otherizes you, because in this country, gay men who have had sex with men in the last 12 months can't give blood, right? So you're still otherized even in this moment of tragedy that's not based in science or anything rational. Right. So it's like a constant kind of emotional fatigue that kind of goes unrecognized sometimes, and it's just like small things, but after a while, I mean, like any other group that's traditionally marginalized, it's going to get to you. You know, I'm really fortunate to have a really supportive partner, Eric, if you're watching. But
Eric, shout out to the boy.
But yeah, it's something we talk about a lot. And like, you know, when we first started dating, for example, marriage wasn't legal in Florida. And like, that's like not, you know, a long time ago. So it's humbling.
So I want y'all to know, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to bring this up because you can't always expose everybody's life and you got to be polite. And that's really why I admire you. I follow both of your pages. You have the professional page and you have the Chris page.
Oh, boy. I didn't know you were on the other one.
Yeah, I'm on there. I snuck in there, man. You speak out for so many communities and you're doing so much, and it bothers me that I still don't think people respect you the way that they should. So I just want you to know, Digital Grass is out there fighting for you because I know the other things that you've overcome that most people may not be paying attention to.
I appreciate that, Michael.
So, I mean, just really, you guys be cognitive of the LGBT community because it's one thing to be a black male, but it's another thing to be a gay black male. You just don't understand the scrutiny that they go through with families, through churches, through a community that's so closed-minded that still won't have open conversations about these things. And it becomes draining. I mean, I think about the aspect of being a black male and saying I wanted to be an entrepreneur and how a lot of people in my family, it was like, oh, no, you're not just going to be an engineer like your dad. I can only imagine what you went through to be able to say, I'm a black male and I'm gay. And we really salute you and applaud you because you're pretty much the example of the diversity that we want to have in this community. And it's actually an honor to have you on this stage tonight.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Latoya. Thank you, guys.
I'm done. I'm sorry.
No, you good. You good. You like my hype man. Like, I guess I carry around with you everywhere I go. Like,
I think that's going to be my
having
second
a tough
job.
meeting. I'm like, go talk to Michael
All
right
you got to
now.
do is give me a drink. Give me a drink and some mac and cheese. I got you. We'll hold it down.
Right. Just keep them in your pocket. Pull them out when you need them.
I'm Michael Hall. Let me tell you about Chris Caines.
Right. So on a similar line, though, in terms of, let's going back to the Knight Foundation and the work that you're doing there, what are you looking to really achieve while you're program director? Do you have any major goals that you want to see, and what's that sort of looking like for you?
Yeah, so first thing, I really appreciate being called program director. I'm actually interim program director.
Yeah. Look, man,
it's okay.
you holding down the fort.
At some time, there'll be a full-time person
and it'll
hired.
be you. It'll be Chris.
And
Speaking of
so,
Chris, hold on. You are at the table of Digital Grass. You talk things into existence. If you can't sell the deal, ain't nobody else gonna sell it for you. So if you want to be the program director,
you better
speak
say
that
it.
shit right here on stage.
Right.
So
Mike
what's your
said
title?
I said
what's
it.
your title again?
I let my work do the talking.
That's what I'm talking about.
But
that's what I'm talking about.
So
whatever.
I think,
be the program director.
So I think there's a couple of things, but kind of the thesis that's really been I've been working off of is innovation, not just for innovation's sake. Entrepreneurship, not just for entrepreneurship's sake, right? Like the aspiration is that entrepreneurship, innovation, and even to some extent economic progress are drivers of greater community success. They're not ends unto themselves. When we create innovation just for innovation's sake, and I hate to keep bagging on Silicon Valley, you get situations like Silicon Valley where you keep on growing and pushing the boundaries, which is great in some ways and for some communities.
Bag on them because that shit sucks.
Has a really bad adverse effect for a lot of communities. And it's one of those things where I think if you, when we start looking at some of these things as like I said, ends unto themselves and not tools to drive greater community success, whether that's taking the form of economic prosperity, social, cultural, political. Like, some people, I keep on hearing this phrase like, money is how you keep score. Like, nah, I don't buy it. I really don't. I really think it's about the people that you touch, the lives that you touch, and the community impact you have to drive that transformative change that supports folks. And so to the extent that entrepreneurship can do that, I really hope to put my weight and any influence I have towards those ends. And it's a work in progress. And you kind of like riffed on one of the lines I use a lot. But just because Knight Foundation has money doesn't mean we have answers, right? Like, we got nice offices, we got nice bank accounts, but we're still humans. It's still a grant application in front of me. I'm making my best value judgment on it. I'm asking the best questions I can, but we make mistakes. Yeah. We miss things. We miss trends. And so it's really on the community to call us out when we miss it. And it's on us to go seek out that calling out. And I am here on TV or online telling you that I'm comfortable with that criticism, that it's okay to let me know where we're going wrong. And I have an open ear and an open heart and an open mind. And I will do the best I can to serve the community as best as I can.
Because two people did come up to me in Self-Born, and we did want to let people know he's not just a place filler. He is cutting checks. So I just want y'all to know that was Chris' way of telling y'all come with your best idea because he is cutting checks. So I think we should go ahead and get into this quick six.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. Before we do the quick six, DJ Self-Born.
Man.
Do you have a Self-Born question you want to put on the table, sir?
I don't know.
This is where you get all philosophical.
I went kind of serious before I've been serious. So I'm thinking I might do silly. Should I do silly or serious?
You can do silly. Let's go.
How does it feel to look like Tiger Woods?
Felt a lot better about 10 years ago.
Right, exactly. And I knew there was a real answer for that, too.
Good comeback, boy.
There we go, exactly.
Good with it. All right, so, Chris, your life has to be represented by a movie. We plug into you and we see a movie. What movie would we be watching right now? What's the movie we're looking at?
Oh. So you asked the worst person in the world this question because you know I don't watch movies.
Well, give me a TV show.
TV show.
I don't really watch TV shows either.
Give me a podcast, a book, something.
Right.
A scripture,
some media.
A tweet. I don't know.
Damn, I really don't know.
Jay-Z album.
Just
something.
a guy trying to do his best. So you give me a movie.
A tweet.
What's the movie? What's the movie that represents that?
I mean, I was thinking Shaft. I don't know.
What's the one with Jesus in it?
It's like
Jesus Shuttlesworth.
It's like the coach.
Oh,
I got it.
He got game.
It's the coach from Remember the Titans. But not as racist stuff going on.
Okay, so Remember the Titans.
Yeah, minus a lot of the racial strife.
Different kind of discrimination, but remember. Okay, Remember the Titans. We'll take that.
Okay, it's not a great answer.
It's a good one for me. I like it.
It's
I like
the
that
movie
movie.
I saw.
Look, it's your
Very
answer.
well shot. Go ahead. That's your answer, though.
So, what's the Chris Caines soundtrack?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I told you it's BODAK Yellow every day. I just put it on my ears.
So you
I don't dance. I make money moves. I'm just getting hyped. I'm wearing a risky outfit. All right, all good. It's okay.
Right.
I'm making money moves.
Bloody
It's cool.
shoes,
It's
bloody
cool.
shoes.
It's cool. It's cool. It's levels. We're good. We're good.
All right.
I had to bring it back for the
Cardi
rapid
B is
six,
still
I'm
number one.
saying.
I appreciate it.
That's the American dream. That is literally the American dream.
Tell them. I'll try to
She did it though.
Somebody who was dismissed for so long, and in some ways she's an entrepreneur, and she's out there grinding, kept on iterating on her product, and then has a brand that's selling right now.
All right.
She has the most positive song since UNITY for ladies.
I mean, she's been in it for a while. We just know about
She's
her
telling
right
women,
now,
you do not have to dance. Get off. You don't have to be on the pole.
We'll have that conversation
Exactly.
afterwards. I don't know about that. So, what's the one thing? What's the one thing that you want to see happen before 2018?
For 2018,
Last quarter. What's happened in the last quarter of this game? What's the win you're looking for?
I'm looking for local communities to find a way to persevere and to overcome disturbing national and statewide trends. And I'm not sure what that looks like, and I'm not sure what sphere it's in. But I think it's a really good challenge and opportunity for us as a community who sometimes find more things to divide us, to unify against certain messages, and to work together really in any capacity, I think, to oppose a larger national agenda that really threatens the very fabric of our country.
All right.
No, that's real. That's real.
Go ahead, Toya.
Drink of choice.
Vodka tonic. I know, it's like the vanilla ice cream of drinks.
Nice and easy, but it's yours. It's yours.
So, what's the perfect headline in Miami Herald 5 years from now? What would that headline read for you?
Honestly, I would say something about affordable housing, like passing some first-in-the-nation affordable housing. Way too many of our residents are cost-burdened. It's really an epidemic, and it's going to be a serious moment. I'd also say something around climate change, too, whether it's stopping climate...
So Miami solves
climate change, affordable housing, without doing climate gentrification. If we could get those three things, if we could do those three things down, that'd be pretty dope.
All right, Toya, last question on you.
Last question. So much pressure. Where do we see Chris in 5 years?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
Hopefully supporting the community the best I can.
All right, so y'all know him. Y'all know what's going on. Meet him at the bar. Get the man a vodka and tonic.
Yeah.
And thanks for having Chris Caines. Thanks for coming out to the show, man. We appreciate you.
Thanks for hanging with us.
Hey, y'all, we'll see you all next week. This is Tech Beat.